Hey guys, this is Freedom Voice. I want to do a video here on this interview on Cam Newton with Sammy. And this interview is very significant because Sammy talks about his mother being gangstalked. Now, I want to talk about, for those of you that don't know who Sammy is, I want to talk a little bit about who he is. His name is Sammy Lee Bush Jr. He was born in 1987. He lived in South Florida, and he sort of became discovered back in the late 90s when he went on Showtime at the Apollo in 1998, and he won. From that time, he began recording a number of hits, and he became relatively popular. And he's got quite an impressive recording record or recording history. So he went on the Cam Newton podcast. Now, Cam Newton, those of you that know Cam Newton, at one point played in the NFL. He was a superstar quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. His name is Cameron Jarrell Newton, born in 1989. And he has quite an impressive record or playing history, I'll say, in the NFL. Quite impressive. So you can say he went from superstar to podcaster. Now, he's not the only one that went from a superstar football player to a podcaster. Those of you that know Shannon Sharp, Club Shay Shay, also went from playing football to podcasting. And you remember that impressive, iconic interview with Cat Williams, which garnered 90 million views, guys. You know, these guys are not just normal, regular people. These guys are controlled by the Illuminatis. These guys actually are part of a secret society, and that's the reason why their videos get so much traction on the internet. And anytime you see a lot of these podcasters that get a lot of views, such as Cam Newton, Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp, you can rest assured that you're going to see somewhere in their podcast videos, you're going to see the calling card for the Illuminati, and that is the one eye symbol. You can see here with Cam Newton, notice his right eye is covered, sort of covered by the shadow of his hat and the lighting in the room. All through the interview, that right eye seems to be covered by the shadow. Now, I did a video some time ago talking about the one eye, and a lot of the recording artists like Bad Bunny and many others, but you know that the one eye, or I should say the all-seeing eye on the back of the dollar bill, as well as the all-seeing eye within Freemasonry, it's all connected, guys. These guys are all connected. That's the reason why they can become so popular and get so many views. What's interesting is that Cam Newton did an interview with Joy Taylor about 30 days ago. And in that interview, it's very obvious that Joy Taylor's part of the whole, she's part of the game. She's part of the club, I'll say. He did another interview with Parka McKenna Posley. Again, these girls are all part of the game. They're part of the club. And you can kind of tell, you know, you don't see him really with the one eye, his eye being covered, the shadow from his hat on the right side of his eye. You don't see that with these two interviews. But when he's doing the interview with Sammy about 7 days ago, that's when you see it. Now, there's a reason for that, guys. They're trying to bring Sammy into the club. They're trying to get him to sacrifice his mother. He doesn't realize what's going on. Now, I want to kind of go into this interview, and I want to kind of let it play out, and I want to comment on it as it plays.
You will never have comfort on this earth. Neither will I. We're not supposed to be comfortable. We just passing through. And when you are navigating through the peaks and the lows and the highs and the valleys and the mountains, they're going to come after you every chance they get.
All right, I want to pop in here and just kind of comment and just basically point out the fact that what Sammy is trying to communicate to Cam Newton is that, you know, he thinks that Cam Newton is someone like him, someone who's free spirit, someone who has a soul, but he doesn't realize that Cam Newton's compromised. He's already joined the club. And so he's talking to him as if he's a person like him. And that's the reason why he's saying that they're going to come after you. Well, they're coming after Sammy, and Sammy doesn't realize that this guy Cam is one of the ones who, he's kind of like the gatekeeper. He's coming after him. He's trying to get him to join the club. Let's continue.
So shout out to your grandmother's prayers, brother, because you're the epitome of that.
Appreciate it. Before we get out of here, bro, I want to talk about something.
Mm-hmm.
Your mother.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's touching because I know she was extremely involved in your development.
Yeah, man.
I want to be obedient to your feelings and
Let's talk about it.
All right, guys, this is where it gets real. You notice Sammy said, let's talk about it. He wants to talk about his mother. And the reason why he's bringing up his mother is because what he's trying to do is he's trying to invoke emotions from Sammy, basically trying to see where lies his loyalty. Is he loyal to, his family, or will he ever compromise? Specifically compromise his love for his mother for the sake of joining the club. And that is the whole reason why he wants to talk about his mother. That's the whole reason why they're going to start talking about this whole gangstalking thing. And I want to point out something throughout this interview. Guys, this is very spiritual. This guy, Cam Newton, if you look at him, just look at his attire, look at what he's wearing. I mean, this guy is a 100% full-fledged warlock. You can see his hat is a warlock hat. You can see the jacket, the Letterman jacket he's wearing. You can see him covering his right eye, the shadow covering his right eye, I'll say. All through the interview, you can see that. This guy's compromised. He's sold his soul. Now, let's continue, because I want to point out some other important facts along the way in this interview.
for the people who may not know.
Okay.
What
If I cry, pardon me, by the way, because I've never talked about it out like loud. So
from what I know,
yeah,
murder.
second-degree murder. She's fighting a second-degree murder case currently.
And she's incarcerated right now.
Lawyer fees later. She's at a mental Florida State Hospital currently. She's not in jail anymore. Mm-hmm. I would just say, again, this is allegedly. So first and foremost to Mrs. Collier, which is the deceased, who was a wife, and auntie, sister, my condolences, right, to that and her family. Just give me a second.
No, you got it.
All right, really quick here. You notice Sammy's starting to cry, real tears. And my heart goes out to him because I know he loves his mother. But you're going to notice throughout the video that he talks about his mother in such a way where he kind of realizes that something's happening. Somebody's sort of setting his mother up. But he doesn't know who. He doesn't realize that it's the gatekeepers. They're behind it.
My mom, at some point, just felt like she was being followed. Felt like her phones was hacked, televisions, like it's just something that just started to happen. Her behavior, her mental, thank you, her psyche started to change about, I would say, 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand it, you know what I'm saying? I didn't know what she was talking about. If you want to go down a rabbit hole of research, there's something called gangstalking, where it's just do your research or whatever on that term. But yeah, it just became disturbing because myself nor my siblings understood when she would call and say, I'm being followed every day and y'all need to come see how your mom's living in Orlando. And bro, it was so bad. We would come down there, dog, and she would like make you turn your phone off before you walk in her house. And in 2022, I remember talking to my therapist, and I said, yo, like the relationship with my mom just started to kind of decline because that's all she would talk about.
You know, anytime you join the industry and become famous like Sammy, you have to pay a tax. And that tax is not in the form of currency, but in the form of blood. You have to sacrifice a loved one. And they're trying to get him to sacrifice his mother, but they don't have the legal right to take his mother's life because he hasn't fully committed to the club yet. And that's what this whole interview is about, trying to get him to make a commitment. Now let's continue.
It was never just like, how was your show? Or how you doing? And it was just that, just paranoia. And I was very disturbed. And I was always afraid that she would get hurt or hurt someone. And January 17th, I want to say, 2023, I got the worst phone call of my life. My mom was in jail. She said she had sent some like warning shots off into the sky because somebody was outside her house, right? So I'm like, okay, so why are you in jail? And she did have a bond, so I was able to bond her out. And I had a show in Arizona. By the time I had got back to Arizona, from Arizona to Atlanta, you know how you get to where you're about to land and your phone starts to back work and you can download photos? One of my siblings, I think it's my sister, sent me a mugshot of my mom. And it read, like, you know, Angela Baxter, arrested in Orlando, Florida. That's where I went to high school at for second-degree murder. And I just remember yelling, like, get me the F off this plane. And I just went straight into, like, lawyer mode and calling. And I can't say much because I don't understand it. I just know she felt paranoid often for years. And allegedly, in like self-defense, shot into traffic one day and hit a young lady.
All right, so you can see and you can hear from what he's describing that his mother was being gangstalked. His mother was being targeted by the industry for the purpose of setting her up, or really setting both Sammy and her up. And what Sammy doesn't understand, that they're all part of it. Cam Newton, they're all part of it. And he doesn't realize that this is kind of a closed club, that in order to be part of the club, you have to pay a tax of blood. And, you know, they're talking about it in this podcast interview, hoping that, you know, at some point they can convince him to sacrifice his mother. And, you know, it's a game that they play in the occult, the world of the occult, in order to ensure your loyalty to the system, to the club, to the game that they play, in exchange for your popularity, in exchange for your success. Now let's continue.
And every publication in the whole wide world said national recording artist Sammy's mother, blase, blase, blase. And it sent me to a dark place. It's the first time I've been suicidal. I didn't come outside, didn't eat, didn't drink nothing, throwing up. And it's something that I think I've now accepted that I will never understand why this is even a reality of mine.
Somewhere along the line, they communicated to Sammy that he had to go through this experience of sacrificing a family member in order for him to continue in the industry. But obviously, he does not get the cues. He does not understand the cues, I'll say. because he still doesn't know that everybody around him is setting him up, setting his mother up for the purpose of getting him to submit to the system, submit to the club. You know, you got to play by the club's rules. And this guy, Cam Newton, you can see, you know, you look at him and just tell. It reminds me of kind of the Oprah Winfrey interview with Dave Chappelle. If you remember that interview with Oprah Winfrey and Dave Chappelle, I mean, Oprah was sitting there listening to Dave explain how he sort of had a mental breakdown and had to take a vacation and go to Africa, South Africa. You know, same thing is happening to Sammy here right now. And what's interesting is that it's happening with Sammy as it relates to his mother being gangstalked, and this is what he's talking about. Let's continue.
Talk to her every day. Talk to her today. Told her I was coming to do your show and everything. You know what I mean? And it's a blessing to still hear her voice. I've seen her like twice since the ordeal. But it's something that it's a nightmare that I live in every day, brother. Every day.
Sammy refers to this as a nightmare, and what he doesn't understand is that they're creating the nightmare to turn up the heat, so to speak, on him, to force him to make a decision to submit to the club. You know, Dave Chappelle brought it out, and many others have brought it out. You got the gatekeepers. In the case of Dave Chappelle, you know, Oprah Winfrey. In the case of Sammy here, Cam Newton. And this is the reason why he feels like he's going through this nightmare experience. Because it's all orchestrated. It's all part of the game.
I hate to even evoke that emotion.
No, that's fine.
You know what I'm saying?
Crying is healthy sometimes.
I think as we talk about this, man.
All right, I want to jump back in. I hate to keep cutting in here, but I do want to kind of show and point out the fact that this conversation is going to take a change. It's going to go from Sammy talking about his mother to mental health. Notice.
Mental health.
Yeah.
In our culture is real. Mm-hmm. We've seen a situation with Marshawn Nealand.
Yeah.
Where some would say, hey, bro, you just scored your touchdown. Yeah. Like, you on top of the world. And then that following day, like, how...
You leave.
My message to the masses would be check in, tap in, and check up.
Yeah, man. I like that.
You see, what Cam is saying here in so many words, and I don't think that Sammy's picked up on it, but what he's saying here is that, you know, he mentions this guy Marshawn in his superstar moment, scoring a touchdown. And then he kind of went from a high to a low. He's basically saying that, you know, Sammy, you went from a high to becoming a recording artist, and now you're down in your low because your mother's being gang-stalked, and, you know, you're having an emotional breakdown as a result of it. And what you need to do is you need to just submit, you know. But what he's doing is not saying it directly. He's basically saying that, you know, what's happening to you, what's happening to your mother is a sign of mental health problems, mental health issues. And, you know, you might want to even get checked up as well, because maybe you're mentally ill. See, it's gaslighting. They're basically trying to distort his world, to get him to question his world, get him to question his surroundings, so that he will no longer trust his judgment, but trust the gatekeepers and what they say about his world and his future. But Sammy, don't do it, man. Don't do it, because they're going to destroy you and your family if you do.
Because we all have people around that really knows us. Mm-hmm. That knows mannerisms, that knows facial expressions, that knows routine.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I'm straight.
Yep.
That ain't good enough, bro.
Yeah, you
that
really
ain't
straight.
Good enough. No, hey,
you really okay.
My challenge to the masses would be like, be overly conscious of, I'm about to pull up on you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that darkness cannot be cured with darkness.
No. It needs light.
It needs light.
It needs light.
All right, just understand what's taking place here. Cam is basically suggesting that Sammy can't no longer say I'm straight. There's nothing wrong with me mentally. Because what he's saying is he's saying that his emotional breakdown and the situation that's happening with his mother being gang stalked and everything that she said regarding gang stalking is really a sign of mental illness. And you notice that he says that you can't cover darkness with darkness, so to speak. It needs the light. He's not talking about the light of the truth as it is in Jesus or the light of the truth of the Word of God. He's talking about the Illuminati. He's talking about he's trying to convince Sammy to submit to the Illuminati, which represents in his mind the light. But really, it's delusion. It's kind of they flip the world. You go from, this world that we understand and are clear on and we understand to this sort of secret world, this underworld, this satanic world of abuse and control that you have to submit to in order to be a star, in order to be a celebrity. And Sammy right now, as of this interview, he has not joined the club. And he's trying to get him to join the club. Let's continue. Because all of this plays a factor into his mother being gang stalked. Let's continue.
And it takes a village.
Yeah, I've learned, and I'm still learning how to accept that. So I'm so used to carrying everything by myself and shouldering everything by myself.
I remember having this conversation with Kirk Franklin. And yes, he's made his life earnings in ministry.
Yeah.
And he is crucified
for how he does it.
But how many people, and I told him, if Kirk Franklin were to leave us, I would cry because
as will I.
He's my Michael Jackson. Growing up in a Pentecostal church, melodies from heaven.
Yeah.
And even going from that dynamic to everybody say stomp. We forget that
how diverse.
He brought people to the kingdom.
Yeah.
Guys, you have to read between the lies here. You have to understand what Cam is talking about here. You notice how the conversation switched to Kirk Franklin, and the reason why is because Cam is still targeting Sammy here. He knows Sammy is a church boy. He knows that he's a believer in Jesus Christ, and he's trying to get him to join the club. Now, he mentions Kirk Franklin, and he talks about how Kirk Franklin, went from being a superstar gospel recording artist to being this person that's part of the club. In fact, he says that he's in the kingdom now, or he leads a lot of people to the kingdom. It's because Kirk Franklin is compromised as well. They're all part of the same clown club. It's the same game that ensures that you will be successful if you sell your soul and submit to the Illuminati. And that's what he's saying in so many words and cold words to Sammy. And Sammy's not picking up on it. That's what's shocking and surprising here, is Sammy does not even understand what he's saying. Let's continue.
So your gift, my gift, was always thought to be football. I always knew that God will be working in my life in ways that I'm not even owed. Like,
no,
God, like you working so marvelous.
Yeah, marvelously, beautifully.
You get all the honor,
His
glory,
grace,
and
His
praise.
grace and His mercy endure forever, brother.
They are talking about two different gods. Cam is talking about the God of, Luciferian God. And Sammy's talking about the creator God, the God of the Bible, the God of truth, the God of light. And Sammy doesn't realize that what Cam is referring to is he's talking about this dark underworld that he needs to join or submit to so that he can continue in success. Now, I want you to watch what's going to come up here next. Sammy's going to basically talk about the difference between R&B music in the past versus what we have as quote unquote music now. And he's going to basically say that the reason why R&B has changed and music has changed is because people are not going to church, and it's going to blow Cam's mind. Just watch his response, guys. This tells me that they're both talking about two different gods and two different worlds. Watch this.
I think Brian Michael Cox said this in an interview recently. What's missing in new school R&B? The youth aren't going to church, brother.
Wow.
You hear what I'm saying to you? I'm a church boy. I'm a church boy. I'm a church boy.
Wow. 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 You and me,
Flawed and all.
Yeah.
But God is within.
Yes.
And he flows without. I can sing because it wasn't no drums, wasn't no theatrics.
Everybody say amen.
Everybody say amen.
Everybody say
amen. Amen.
Stay away from my lady. Stay away from my lady.
You know what I'm saying?
Stay away. see, this is the thing. Like we like music.
You know?
If I see her, that ain't insecure, baby. I'm just smart.
They won't. But so if you would have done that with somebody that can't sing, they would have made it just a comedic, and they wouldn't have joined you. I can sing, and that wasn't even my best.
There's so much here to talk about, guys. I mean, if you can read between the lines here, you can clearly see that what Cam is referring to is this dark underworld where they submit to this dark, powerless God. And you notice how when Sammie talks about how God is within, it rocks Cam. If you really look at this and follow the exchange between the two, you can tell they're talking about two different gods. And that is what Cam, see, the God that Cam serves and submits to is the God of money, prestige, and fashion, the God of this world. And that is what Sammie is kind of wanting, in essence, but he hasn't fully submit. He hasn't fully surrendered to the industry and to the gatekeepers within the industry. Because Sammie still has a soul. I mean, this is a stand-up guy. This guy, in more than his talent, this guy has a heart and soul. And you can tell in the interview, you can clearly see it. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to get him to surrender his soul to the dark world of the Illuminati. And that is what Sammie doesn't really see or understand. But he's kind of thinking that Cam is on the same page as he is, but he really isn't. Let's continue.
Yeah, the problem is there's no singers because there's no worshipers of the Most High anymore. We as a entity in our era, in our generation, these kids aren't going to church, brother. So they're not getting anything for themselves. They're becoming robots. They're on the phone. Robots have no feelings. I'm gonna say it again. When you go to church, most of the demons and things that you're fighting stop at the front door because they don't want to go inside of there. And when you're able to be a pure soul and get God in you, it's going to feed your soul. It's going to feed your spirit. And if you're blessed with the gift of song, then you become what the old folk used to say, which is tatted on the back of my neck, you're anointed. And anointed is something where I can pierce your spirit.
Wow, you know what Sammie is saying here is so powerful and so true. It is so powerful and so true. And if he understands what he understands, he would get out of the industry immediately because he doesn't realize that you can't be anointed. Like the scripture says, no man can serve two masters. And this is very, very evident of the fact of the truth of that scripture. You can't serve the God of the heaven, God of creator, God of heaven and earth, and serve the gods of this world. And Cam represents the gods of this world. But yet he's trying to pretend as though he's on the same page as Sammie in order to bring him into this dark underworld. Sammie's not picking up on it. And he really thinks that he can actually be, quote unquote, anointed and still be in the industry and be famous. You can't serve two masters, Sammy. Let's continue.
This generation are on phones and iPads all day. They're becoming robots. They're becoming personal programs that lack feeling, that don't even feel no kind of way when they scroll past somebody getting shot because they see it so much. Men don't even get enticed because you see naked women on your timeline so much. We are desensitizing ourselves from emotions. So how can we feel your music? You have become numb to happiness, sadness, sorrow, pain, and intimacy. But for the churchgoers, like myself, I'm able to pierce your spirit because I'm still in tune with my spirit.
Again, guys, I want to reiterate the fact that what Sammy is saying is powerful and true. And it's unfortunate that he doesn't. And this is kind of the problem with those who are on the right side versus those who are on the left side. You know, it's very difficult when you're on the right side. When I say the right side, I mean the side of truth, the side of light. You know, when you're on the side of truth and light and the Most High God, it's very difficult for your mind to comprehend how dark and evil this world is. And he does not see and understand, and he's unable to even discern that Cam is referring to a very dark underworld. But he does understand the problem within the R&B music industry today and how music is not the same as it once was. He doesn't know that it's related to the gods that people serve or choose, you know. It refers to their soul and the fact that whether or not they have a soul versus those that don't have a soul. One thing is he understands that factor, but he doesn't understand that they're after his soul. And that is the whole reason why his mother's being gangstalked. That's the reason why they're setting him up and setting his mother up, because they're trying to bring him to such an emotional low to where he will just submit and then sacrifice his mother at the same time. Now, what's about to come up next is that he's going to kind of show the correlation between the movie Sinner and what Sammy's going through. And I believe that Cam Newton understands that that whole movie, Sinner, was basically a documentary of Sammy's life. I'm pretty sure Sammy understands it. You're gonna see that it's gonna become very evident when he talks about it. But listen to what he says as it relates to that movie.
Right?
A lot of what you just expressed, bro, and I'm not saying this, but it's like, it's Sinners. You seen the movie?
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to end it here. And I just want to point out that Sammy's being targeted, probably not in the way that we're familiar with a targeted individual, but he is being targeted using the same tactics. Sammy's mother's being gangstalked. Sammy's world is closing in around him. Everyone around him is setting him up. And one of two things is going to happen to Sammy in the very near future. Either he's going to submit to the industry and sacrifice his mother, or the industry is going to sacrifice him. And one of two things are going to happen. And if they sacrifice him, then we know for sure that this whole gang stalking program is very spiritual. And the people that are targeted for gang stalking are targeted because they're very powerful people, just like this guy Sammy is. Just like, this whole interview just outlined the difference between the souls. The soul of Cam Newton, who submitted to the industry and the club, and the soul of Sammy, who is a church boy, quote unquote church boy, who obviously has, a soul. He's a real person. And I just find it interesting how the two roles or the two sides are constantly fighting against each other, pitting against each other. It's a controversy between good and evil. It's a controversy between right and wrong. So, friends, I hope you get the gist of this whole interview and the points that I'm trying to bring out here. I want to next time bring out some other important details as it relates to other individuals who have been gang stalked who are celebrities. In fact, I'm working on another video right now of a basketball player who is gang stalked as well. And he's making videos on TikTok. So until next time, guys, take care.